Thanks for talking with us today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you could first just, if there's any comment that you can make about that video that surfaced yesterday with the officer, and if you knew about it prior to its release to the public.
Really, all I can say about it is I did not know about the video. I have yet to review the video, and currently I know it's under civil litigation. So we've talked to Officer General Counsel, and at this time are not going to really make any comments about the video. I will review it, and Under Sheriff and I will both look at it, but we're going to have to reserve comment until after the civil case is complete.
But you've seen it, I'm sure, now since it's been all over TV, all over.
I've seen bits and pieces. I just have not seen our video like start to finish. Yeah, I've got the basics of it.
What's your just initial reaction to it, since the use of force right now is really, in question?
Yeah, again, I'm not going to comment on this specific case because it's under civil litigation. So, again, it's something that we'll look at, obviously, but no direct comment about this case.
Can you talk a little bit about review boards? There's a push right now for an independent review regarding police-involved shooting.
Right.
Are you open to the idea to maybe a citizen review board?
No, I'm not a fan of citizen review boards, and we've looked at different areas around the country that have those type of boards. I think for us what's important is to get the idea of what our process is out and have people understand our process. More important than a review board, I think transparency is the key. So the more transparent we can be, and currently we do a lot to try to reach out and be transparent. At some point in time in every criminal case, it is going to go quiet because it's just the nature of criminal investigations, keeping in mind that a police officer who's being investigated for a shooting has the same rights as anyone else who's being investigated for any crime. So they have that right to remain silent. There's not a lot we can say about the case, and we want it to be fact-based and evidentiary-based. We do not want it to have, we don't want political implications to impact the decisions that are being made. So, and you see that around the country when you talk about review boards. So I think it's incumbent upon us to be more transparent as we can be in these cases. Again, explaining our process and talking about every step of the process, maybe not to the specifics of a case when we can't, but at least talk about the process so everyone understands it and has a comfort level with it. I think what I feel right now in the community is two things: a lack of understanding of the process and a lack of trust in the process. So we've got to look at that and how can we improve that, and that's what we've been talking about the last couple of days.
That's what the Southern Christian Leadership Conference is saying in an open letter today, right, that they feel that your answers aren't out there enough and they don't trust what they're hearing. How do you get that trust across?
Well, again, I think it's transparency. So I'll tell you this, again, there are things that we can say and things that we can't. We don't want to negatively impact the investigation, so we want the right outcome, whether it's in favor of the officer or not. We want the right outcome in the case. So we have to take our time. We have to look at the facts. We have to look at the evidence, and that does take time. So while I understand the angst in the community about wanting an answer, I think that's really a symptom of our society today. Everybody wants everything right now. Some things take time. And at some point in time, we will be able to talk about every single piece of this case. But again, it's going to take a while to get there. So again, if we can do a better job of explaining what that process is, so that people understand we're not being just not commenting about a case, but we're at a point in the case where there's not a lot to comment about, or that if we comment, we could negatively impact the case. Again, it's about learning the process, getting people comfortable with that process, and then for us being as transparent as we can be when the time's right to do that. So
today you had awards. You're giving out awards to officers for going beyond the job.
Absolutely, yeah.
How hard is that? And then you see all of this come out, say on TV. You see the beatings. You see all of that.
Sure.
What do you tell people? I mean, this is really what I know you want out there, but it's not what's being shown.
Yeah, you know what, though? I think in every organization, especially one our size, you're always going to have people who misstep. And I think more importantly than what happens is how we address it and how we deal with those situations. Going back to the Vorous incident, everything lined up and we could address that quickly. It doesn't always line up that way. So, again, I think that you're going to have it comes with the territory. You're going to have instances like this, unfortunately. More importantly, how do we address it? How do we move forward? How do we correct policy when we have to? How do we do things we need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again is the important part of it. And I think today's a great example of the good work that we do every day. But I think we have to acknowledge the bad things that happen too and let's address it, take steps to correct it, take steps to appropriately again, address the situation and then move forward.
I just have a question about transparency.
Right.
You're talking about transparency with the community, but I feel like there would be a little concern over transparency in your own department when you, as the sheriff, didn't even know that this video existed until it was brought to light for the whole public to see.
Well, keep in mind, so there are thousands of hours of video that come out of that jail, and some result in being involved in a case and some do not. And this was in the prior administration's view of all that. So again, I'd never seen that video until the snippets that I've seen on the news. And again, we'll take time to watch and review that video. So not uncommon for something like this not to bubble to the surface unless somebody has a question about it. Especially something from the prior administration. So.
And had you seen Vorous' video before it became public?
Well, we released it, absolutely.
Right, that's right. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the Internal Affairs Unit and how I know it's a whole process, but maybe start today sort of explaining how they review cases and how do you ensure that they're not biased?
Right. So we have, again, there's a lot of steps to that review, and without going into a lot of detail, so we investigate every complaint against a police officer, whether there's a name attached to it or not. Obviously, if we have a witness and someone who's going to willing to step up and give us more and more information, that helps us. But we look at all those, start to finish. Police officers have a Bill of Rights that's in the state statutes that we have to abide by. The union weighs into that and how we can, interview officers and different things like that. But we investigate all those start to finish. And it's like anything. If we've got enough facts and enough evidence to take action, we do that. If we don't, then we can't.
Who are the people in this department in Internal Affairs? Are they detectives? Are they former officers? What are their backgrounds?
No, they're police investigators. So they're trained professional police investigators that work for us. And then those are reviewed at every step of the organization, going all the way potentially up to the undersheriff. When you're talking about suspension, demotion, or termination, he gets that case. So you've got 4 or 5 levels of supervision, not only the detectives who gather the facts, put all the evidence together, make a basic determination, then supervision, again, at 4 or 5 different levels, looks at that and says, yes, I agree with this, or no, I don't, or sends it back to internals, hey, I've got more questions, you need to answer these questions. So that process takes a while, as you can imagine, to get through all that. But we do a very thorough job of investigating complaints.
To Officer Vorous' termination,
right.
I know he can have an opportunity for a name-clearing hearing. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, for his name to possibly be cleared and then him have the chance to work elsewhere after that incident happened?
Well, look, I think that's just something that, again, through collective bargaining and through statute and things like that, he has a right to. How that's going to impact him moving forward, I have no idea. I know we've already had that hearing. I don't know the outcome of it. But again, it's he whether or not he has a name clearing hearing or not. I think that video's out there. That's something he's going to have to deal with no matter where he goes to.
Is it normal to take this long for the charges to go through? Because he hasn't officially been charged yet.
And I don't know. I can't comment on that piece of it about where it is.
Case,
yeah.
We still haven't heard anything about the other officers.
Right.
I know you keep saying that's internal.
Sure.
But his came out so quick. Can you tell us, is there going to be any action taken against those officers standing around?
Again, we're still looking at every single one of those. So that's an administrative. So you got 2 levels you're looking at: the criminal threshold, which we were able to meet with Vorous relatively quickly, and then you got the administrative level that we're looking at for the officers that were in the Sally Port at the time. So
can you release their names?
We're taking great steps to make sure that we again make the appropriate decision in this case, whether it's pro or con, according to the public. We want to make sure that it's fact-based, evidentiary-based, and that we make the right decision. So we're taking our time. It's a very thorough investigation. Again, we'll detail it for you as soon as we finish, and we can put it out there and talk about it. And you'll see the great links that we've gone.
When you used to have a media room here,
right.
They used to post when internal affairs results were in. Now we really don't know.
Right.
So do we have to just trust you that you're going to tell us?
Well, you can trust me that I'll tell you. How about that? So I don't know about the posting of it. I don't remember that. But
it used to be you could read, and we didn't even know.
Listen, this is a very high-profile event. The community is very concerned about it. This is not the kind of thing that we're not going to comment on. So we will, when we're finished and able to, comment about this case. Again, the officer standing around, that type of thing. So we'll address it.
Excuse me.
Yes.
There's a lot of unrest in the community right now, and it seems almost like the gap is getting wider between the community and police and building trust. I know you're big on building trust.
Correct.
What are you guys doing to do that?
I think it's the work that we do, the work that we do every day. And obviously we have an incident that has raised concern in the community. We are, following that closely, obviously. And we had a lot of conversation in the last several days with many, community leaders and faith leaders and thought leaders all around the community to talk about this. I think we're doing a good job of building trust in the community. We're always going to have incidents that we have to deal with, so it's never going to be perfect. But I think that we reach out and we talk and we have discussion and we work through these issues is the important thing. So, and we're doing that. So I think that again, this too will come to a conclusion at some point. Obviously, this investigation, and when it does, again, transparency is the key. That we talk about the things we can talk about and show that the outcome has been fact-based, It's evidentiary based. It's not opinion. It's here are the things that we know, and based on law, here are the things that we can do. And I think it's important for us to be very clear about that when the time comes.
Have you
And
talked to the officer? I'm sorry, in the Springfield case, have you talked to him yet?
I have not spoken to him yet. Yeah.
Just
One more, then we get.
Well, a quick question on body cameras, because when you ran
Right.
for office, obviously you supported them, and I believe your first funding, you didn't request that. The mayor told us that it's up to you to put that in your funding. Will you be doing
Sure.
that?
Well, again, I think it's a so I know what funding's available. Doesn't do me any good to put an object in funding that I know can't be funded, if that makes any sense. So, our budget, we work in conjunction with the mayor. The mayor and I talked about, we've talked obviously several times this week, and we talked about body cameras yesterday afternoon. Excuse me. So we'll continue to look at that. Again, it is a heavy lift in terms of the funding. During the campaign, I said I was not opposed to body cameras. I can tell you today, I'm for body cameras. So we are going to work to put that in the equation at some point. And again, we've got to sit down and begin to work. We're working through the budget process now. We've got a couple meetings with the mayor's office coming up, so we got to look and see where we can do it. Again, as I've said before, when we start it, we can't lose it because of funding. We've got to be able to sustain it, so we've got to have a sustainment plan, not just 1 year, but multi-years, that includes a lot of things, all in that statement. The software, the hardware, the people to run that unit, all of those costs have to be incorporated. Replacement cameras, and most importantly, storage. So if you look around the country now and talking to other police departments that are in this process now, storage is really the big X factor. How much is it going to cost us? How much are we going to need? And if you look around again, you don't see very many large departments jumping in just yet, because everybody's trying to wait to see for that landscape to kind of settle a little bit and see how much is it actually going to cost us. And we don't know in terms of the storage, so that's concerning. Again, we don't want to get into something that we can't sustain. So, and I don't want to get into something and have you guys ask for camera footage and we don't have it because we don't have room to store it, that type of thing. So again, we've got to do this the right way, take our time and make sure we do it right. It is a priority. Again, I think that the cameras will help it build trust in the community. There are many instances that we deal with every day, the undersheriff and I, that we say, look, we'd love to have some footage on that. You know what I mean? So it's not lost on us, believe me, and it's a priority that we're going to work on moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.